Art of Faith by Granite Creek Studios. I'm Pastor Joshua Kapczynski.
And I'm Pastor Joel Fairley for a few more weeks.
First Baptist
the
Church,
First
Claremont.
Baptist Church of Claremont. Cutest little church in the cutest little town on Route 66.
It is. It's a great little church.
Great little church.
They're gonna miss you.
Yeah.
So today's topic is the art of church. And I think it's a timely topic because, well, we've always tried to figure out what church is. And
We're still trying to figure
we're
it
still
out.
trying to figure out what church is, and there's that whole dilemma on being relevant and reaching the community,
Yeah.
reaching the culture, and it's tough. But so I want to talk about what church is and the art of church. But almost always in the Art of Faith podcast, there's always a double meaning behind everything that we do. And
Absolutely.
there is an art to doing church,
Literally,
church.
and there's literally there is an art to it.
Well,
And
so, first off, let's talk about architecture.
okay. Which is, when you told me what it was,
Yeah.
I got so excited
Oh,
about.
good.
I really was excited because I think it's going away as we used to know it, as it used to be, and I'm saddened by it. And they basically get in a room, put a cross up, get some chairs.
Well,
Done.
It's not even that nowadays, right?
It's not even that.
So I think this is an important
This
topic. This is a very important topic.
is very important.
And well, let's just go straight to the disclaimer. You and I both know that the church is not a building.
No.
But there is something to be said about sacred space.
What was one of the first tasks of God's people that God put upon them when they came out of Egypt?
Yeah.
Is to what?
Build
a
tabernacle.
sacred space, a tabernacle.
Yeah. That's a great topic because the tabernacle is. See, we should have brought pictures of that, huh?
Yeah, but that's okay.
All right. Well, anyway,
Go look in the Google it.
Google
tabernacle.
The tabernacle was a portable shrine. They moved it.
Yeah.
A lot.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. And that's and God's presence went with them in that tabernacle. But it was a little bit more than just a tent, right? I mean, the detail that went into it and the craftsmanship that went into it.
Let's talk about artistry.
And
talk about that. They
and the first person listed in the Bible that was filled with the Holy Spirit is somebody that designed the tabernacle. He was inspired by the Holy Spirit. That's our first record of it.
Wow.
I mean, we know that the Spirit of God was working in God's people, and Abraham and Isaac, Jacob, Moses. But as far as being filled with the Spirit, the first person filled with the Spirit was an artist. Same thing happened with the temple when they started designing the temple with pomegranates and palm trees and animals.
Yeah.
That artist was.
I am all for church buildings.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. And a lot of well, let's just go back to the home church model.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do some contrast.
Okay.
So, one of the criticisms of the church in the 90s is that church is boring, right? And then out of a response from church being boring because there's pews and organs or a choir or whatever, and there was a disconnect between the culture, I guess. And so we went from one contrast of a traditional sacred place with a liturgy, to concert church. So let's. I have a couple pictures.
So
Let's look at uh,
okay,
traditional
I'm
church in
interested.
pews.
So let's yeah.
Though this is just silly clip art that I found.
Okay.
But all right, so that is somewhat of a reality right now.
In my church, it is. We have
COVID and
pews.
post-COVID.
COVID, post COVID,
And
exactly.
for those that are this listening, it's just a snapshot of a traditional church with pews, and there are 5 people in the big giant sanctuary,
Huge.
and yeah. So, and we actually know this to be true. This is a phenomenon that's taking place. Did you catch the Gallup poll on church and faith? So, church attendance and people that are associating to being members of churches is the lowest that it has ever been. It went from 80% down below 50%.
Wow.
So, there's
Wow.
definitely something going on. Our academic friends here in Claremont are bringing that report to light. It's almost like they're celebrating it. They're like, "Yay!
Mm-hmm.
Religion is dying." But is it? I don't think so.
No,
We'll get.
it's changing.
It's changing. So this is traditional church, and then in contrast to something would be like a Hillsong.
Yeah.
Hillsong. There we go. Jesus culture. I mean, the big giant LED screens, haze machines, lasers, and I don't want to. Let me just kind of preface that I don't want to. I'm not coming at these as from a critical point of view.
They're just
Reporting
the news.
Just reporting the news. I think that both expressions are valuable and important. I think what Hillsong has done and what Jesus culture has done in making church a concert, there's value to it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you don't have to scratch the surface too hard to find out that there's, behind the veil or behind the LED screen, there's some problems when church becomes too much of a production and a performance. I think probably what is most disturbing to me about this model is that they're selling tickets. So, oh, you didn't know this?
No,
Are you serious?
I didn't know this.
Oh my gosh, that's a big deal.
At Hillside.
Well, Hillsong, not necessarily at their church, but these big worship labels will do concerts at the Nokia Theater. I mean, big giant venues.
Yes.
And they sell tickets. And I think
so it's a worship, but it's
see, that's where it's confusing, because if it's Christian entertainment, that's one thing. But if they're billing it as worship, that's another thing.
Okay,
so where's the difference?
Okay, so I want to go to Hillside on Sunday morning.
You can go, yes.
And I can go, and I don't have to buy a ticket.
You don't have to buy a ticket.
Okay.
But you're going to get the show. And, they might...
and what did you call this?
It's concert.
Concert.
Church. So this is a concert church.
Concert church.
So...
Okay.
But if you do go to these more contemporary modern churches, they've got the hazer pumping, they got the lasers going, and I don't want to say there's anything wrong with it, but just like in any church expression, there's traps to it, in that they got a show to produce, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I was there. Yeah, I was a part of a contemporary church.
One, yeah. Did you guys have lasers and haze machines?
Yeah, we had different things. We had resources to do a variety of lovely things.
Yeah.
And I was personally involved in some of the wonderful outreaches and wrote some stuff for them and had a great time. I think like at Christmas time we did a let's see, what's the big, is it Mannheim Steamroller does the big Christmas stuff?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Uh-huh.
So we kind of did that, but I attached a kind of a script to it, and it was lovely just to be a part of it.
You see, there's a okay. So I guess there's a fine line because I mean, you and I are both on board for Christians creating good art.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's kind of we have to be careful when we criticize like these productions
It,
because right because they're
they're
producing
the bottom line is they're reaching people
they're
for
reaching people. Yeah,
Jesus that other churches are not.
yeah,
They're not.
that's true.
And they are packing the kingdom of heaven. God bless them.
Yeah,
God bless them. The problem is they walk a. The problem is you got to keep topping yourself,
yeah,
and you can't sustain it.
yeah.
You just can't sustain it. And
And
so
it's not, it's not real life. So let's just say, you buy a ticket, and I'm not. Let's just say, I mean, this is my experience
uh-huh.
as a local small community
Mm-hmm.
pastor. We have people in our congregations, and they go to these events, and I want them to go to these events, and then the experience rocks their socks off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've got all the bells and whistles,
Yeah.
and then they come back to regular old Sunday morning service, and they're like expect that level of production and quality, and we want excellence and we want quality in our worship experience.
Absolutely.
We can't compare to a 20-foot LED screen, and
Mm-hmm.
we can't
We
compete.
can't. No,
And, and
nobody can compete with that.
and I think probably what's frustrating is like we. All right, so this is where I'm being vulnerable.
Okay.
Is this like, we went to this worship concert and we could really feel the Holy Spirit. I'm like, so what's wrong with saying? So you're saying you can't? So this is my insecurity coming out. So you can't feel the Holy Spirit in our worship service? That's what I don't say, but that's what I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We have to be really careful
we have
with
to be
that.
careful.
Really careful.
And I think what is, and again, I don't want to disparage the concert church, but they're in the limelight, literally.
They're
And
personality driven
the
as well.
personality driven, and if you've been watching the news or seeing contemporary Christian news, there's so many problems right now with leadership. I mean, getting caught with their pants down, sometimes literally, and
Yeah.
um, and it's sad, and
It's so we almost have to go back to the roots of go back to the so say the church structure, church building, or the church gathering. I think is the say that was the roots of it was at the tabernacle. So I think what has to happen, we have to like go down to that's the I think the tabernacle's the DNA
do you?
of the worship
Yeah,
of the worship venues, if you will.
sure.
Even though it has nothing to do with, but that's the DNA.
Yeah,
God said it's important to have a place to
congregate.
gather,
Yeah,
to congregate, to what happens in the tabernacle, to confess your sins, to repent before the Lord,
yeah.
to celebrate
His presence.
His love
Yeah,
and grace and thanksgiving,
yeah,
to acknowledge His presence
yeah.
with us. And so I think those whatever the fundamentals of what was happening in the tabernacle,
Yeah.
I think we need to maintain the building blocks for that.
Yeah. And there were phases to get into the tabernacle, and you go from one curtain to the next until you get closer to the Holy of Holies.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And most people just gathered outside.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. I love the part where the priest has got to go into the Holy Holies with the bell on his ankle, the rope tied around his ankle.
That neat.
He's got to shake that bell the whole time. He's that close to God, because if he's impure in any way, he's dead.
Yeah.
And they just drag him out. That is
exactly.
so cool.
That is, I
It
mean, it really is. It really is cool, and that's kind of,
right.
that's the thing. Anyway,
Well, maybe that is the heart. Maybe that's probably we're probably going to spoil the whole thing, but that's probably the heart of the whole topic. Is just the reverence for God.
it's exactly, and I think
And
this is why, and I think some of the examples you're going to show is that like in whatever you, I don't want to,
yeah,
go ahead, but that's to make people feel like they're in the presence of God.
yeah,
I think they're doing that
for sure.
here in the concert.
Yeah, I mean, just with the energy alone, they're getting some type of a
They're
buzz.
exactly.
Um, let's go to a pick on the mega church. How do you feel
Okay.
about mega churches? I mean, you
Um,
used to work for one, right?
I used to work for
I
one,
mean, you just said that.
not as mega. That's not even close. This is a mega church.
Yeah.
And I would, you know what church this is?
It's some Texas church, of course.
Uh-huh.
But probably the classic one to think about would be Joel Osteen's church. Right?
Yeah, Joel Osteen's church.
That is
Yeah.
what, a 20,000
Uh-huh.
seat auditorium.
Uh-huh.
20,000 seats.
Thomas Road Baptist
Yeah.
Church. And they are the bottom line is they have an agenda,
Yeah.
and the agenda is really clear. And in one sense, they have to feed the machine. They got to feed the beast.
Yeah. There's a
And
lot going on. Huh?
because in that picture alone,
Yeah.
okay, there's an orchestra behind them.
Yeah. A jumbotron.
There's a jumbotron.
Four of them.
Four of them. There's, and I probably guarantee you that everybody who's in the orchestra isn't all
paid.
volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I had a conversation with somebody yesterday
Uh-huh.
who also is retiring from ministry. So it's like everybody's
retiring.
everybody's
huh?
piecing out right now.
Yeah.
And so he's got connections to some mega churches, and they are in crisis with volunteers. So, they might have the volume, they might have the people, but they've got to, I mean, the people that I use that are volunteers, they're paying them, from Sunday school teachers to nursery workers to worship leaders to the drummer. They're paying everybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That's the way. So
that's the beast.
and the structure is, I like it. It does remind you of an arena.
Uh-huh. Well, Joel Osteen's church is literally an arena.
Yeah.
Literally.
Did they in Houston?
Yeah.
They didn't buy the Astrodome.
They
did.
did.
Did they buy the Astrodome?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I heard it, but I didn't know if it was a reality.
No, he packs it out.
The Astrodome.
Yeah.
Wow. And here's the deal. That's easy to do. I mean, it's really you got the money.
Yeah.
And it's easy for somebody to feel like they're going to, because they go to Osteen's church to feel good.
Yeah. It's what they're
That's their product.
their product. I hate to say that. I mean,
But that's their product.
That's what they're selling. Yeah.
I'm not going to confess.
Yeah. And what you said earlier is that these churches are personality driven.
Uh-huh.
That's problematic.
That is problematic. And not all big churches are like that.
No, I know. And then a lot of them are able to do a lot of good things.
And again, the bottom line is, look at all those people.
Yeah.
They're reaching folks.
Yeah. And, on the pro side of it, they are reflecting the culture, right? So, I mean, what kind of culture is predominant in Texas? It's like a Walmart culture. It's a big box culture. And so the church is responding to those cultural
and
needs.
the football culture,
Yeah, the
everybody,
arena. Yeah,
the arena, the gathered together as
yeah.
community. And God bless them.
It,
In one sense, God bless them. I don't want to be critical
I don't want to be critical
of
either.
them either.
That's
But but having been a part of a large church,
yeah.
um,
You were technically a mega church, right?
technically a
Yeah,
mega church, yeah.
yeah,
Um, having been part of it, you do not realize there are little churches like mine now out there. You forget about that.
yeah. That
And in one sense there's something wrong with those little churches out there. And so what happens is these big churches, mega churches, have to be careful that they're not the only ones doing it right.
yeah,
They're not the only ones doing it right. They're not the only ones reaching people for the Lord. We may not do it in the volumes
yeah,
that we got it, but I'm still baptizing folks.
yeah,
People still getting saved. People are still hearing the gospel. People are still falling in love with Jesus and reading his word.
yeah,
So what happens is that there is this, and it's not necessarily the pastors do it, there is this mentality of we're better than you.
yeah,
We got it more together than you do.
yeah,
The only thing they have that you and that we don't have is the resources.
yeah.
Period.
Period. Yeah. Let's contrast the mega church with
Okay.
the home church.
Okay.
So, this is actually what I grew up in. I grew up in.
Did you
I
really?
did, yeah. So, um,
Wow.
yeah, my dad planted his church as a home church.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
this was my experience growing up. I mean, it's pretty accurate. Just being crammed
Is
together.
this you?
No,
Is this your?
this is clip. I
Okay.
just googled this picture. So,
Okay.
but yeah, just crammed together in our living room.
Oh
With
wow.
one guy with a guitar, and we would do communion, and it was powerful. I mean, it was intimate. You could feel the Holy Spirit in the home church setting. It was great,
Wow.
and it was definitely transformative because there was a high level of commitment. So you couldn't hide in the back, right?
No, you couldn't.
You can't. You can't
That's
just.
exciting.
You just can't be an attender
Uh huh.
that wants to be anonymous.
Uh huh.
You're part of a community, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
ate together, and so it had obviously had some huge benefits.
That's neat.
But there's also some huge criticisms towards home church,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that I could speak into this because again, I grew up in home church. The criticisms is that it becomes very tight knit, and you ain't letting anybody in. And in some cases, you can't. Just for the safety of the community. I mean, so this was the sanctuary. So the living room was literally the sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what was children's ministries?
The bedroom.
My bedroom.
Right.
So I had to bring kids into my bedroom that I didn't even like, or in some cases didn't even know.
Wow.
And at times, people would come to our house that weren't safe. They weren't safe people. And do you turn them away? I have vivid memories of being a kid, and emotionally unstable people would ring the door. I mean, I know you've had this experience just in ministry, but I mean, emotionally unhealthy people would ring the door and want my dad to minister to them at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and it was just
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, you open up your home for church.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's like they don't know any difference,
Yeah.
and they just think that mi casa su casa, right? So it was hard.
Well-
It was. I would not, even though it was such a pleasant experience and the foundation for the church that we have right now, I would never want to go back to.
Because it can go south in a hurry.
Oh yeah.
Oh
And
my gosh.
especially now in this culture where everybody is emotionally damaged, it seems,
Uh-huh.
I would not want
Yeah.
certain people in my house around
Yeah.
my daughter. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
if the early church that was gathering in houses and gathering
Yeah.
places, if the early church had a place to go, don't you think they'd go?
Yeah, well, I mean, and they did. Ephesus was most likely
Mm-hmm.
in a courtyard,
Mm-hmm.
right? In a amphitheater, or
Yeah.
you know, we believe that Ephesus was in a public space.
Yes. So
Uh,
they would.
they would,
It was a
and
part
they
of their
did. And
community.
when they got away with it, they met in the temple until they got run out of the temple courts.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, they yes, they met in homes, and like there is a huge value to home church and cell church
Mm-hmm.
ministry. I mean that revolutionized China, saved China,
Wow.
right? I mean, right? I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
But in the United States, in
yeah,
our country,
yeah,
we don't have to hide.
yeah. We
We
were,
can find a public place.
yeah. Even like I mean, we're promoting small group. We always promote small group ministries, like any other church, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that in order for us to grow big, we've got to grow small at the same time. Right? It's that, you know, you see, you know this stuff,
Uh
right?
huh. Absolutely.
I, we had a small group at our home a while back. And it's just, I mean, and we opened it up for everybody,
Yeah.
and we had, I mean, eventually there's this person that started stalking my wife, and I just, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had people drive by our house and yell things at. I mean, just really disturbing stuff.
Okay.
So again, it like this is probably the way it should be, right? Breaking bread together. You know,
Yeah.
the first form of communion was love feasts. It was
Yeah.
having dinner together. It wasn't how we do it today with,
Yeah.
you know, or the plastic little cups, or going up in front and, you know, have them put the wafer in your mouth. It was bread and wine and dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and they thought and reflected and confessed. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I think there's something good to be said about both models, the megachurch model and the homeschool
Mm-hmm.
or home church model. I mean, they're extreme opposites,
Very extreme.
and they both have their problems,
Yeah.
and they both have their advantages.
Everybody does, and even the
Yeah.
little neighborhood church like you and me,
Yeah.
we have our advantages, and we have our problems.
All right, let's talk about architecture a little bit.
Let's do it.
So, how much does the actual building architecture play a part in reaching people? What do you think?
I think it's bigger and more important than we think and give it credit for.
Yeah.
So, because everything, you know, first of all, cathedrals, when people went into the church, they were not driven by personalities.
Yeah.
The building, the structure was the main ministry force, wasn't it?
Yeah. Look, let's skip to Notre Dame. So the interior. Yeah. Okay. So this is Notre Dame. So for those of you that are listening, I mean, you all know what Notre Dame looks like in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
and actually Sharp's Cathedral was the first to make these big giant vaulted ceilings, and there was a philosophy and there was an intention in building this cathedral. Before the Gothic cathedrals, it was the Romanesque churches. So they were shorter, stouter, boxier, you know, heavier. And then technology advanced and they created the Gothic cathedral with these high vaulted ceilings filled with stained glass. And Sharp's philosophy was that when you enter into the cathedral, the architecture in and of itself, with its lofty ceilings and the light coming in through the stained glass window, that it would literally shift you into the presence of God. The architecture alone, in and of itself.
That's my point.
Yeah. So
That's my
that
point.
concept of sacred space
That's my
would take you
point.
to a higher plane. And if you've ever, if anybody watching has never been in a cathedral, um, it doesn't matter if it's empty, if it's packed out. There is something awe-inspiring
It
about being in those sacred
Oh,
spaces.
I would absolutely agree with that 100%. I'm never going to Rome. I know a lot of people will. I St. Peter's Basilica.
Yeah,
I'm transported,
yeah,
and I was transported by St. John of the Lantern,
yeah.
the San Giovanni, the First Vatican.
Ah,
That I'm telling you, everything in there that was intentionally in there, the beautiful 18-foot statues of the disciples,
yeah,
the frescoes, the plaster sculptures on the wall. I don't know what they would call them, but they everything spoke to me because it's all about Jesus and telling his story.
yeah,
And I was blown away. I didn't want to leave,
yeah.
and it was vast. I never felt so close. I've felt close to the presence of God in this huge, huge, huge facility. There's so much room, and I was standing in the middle of it, just in
In
awe,
awe. Yeah.
so close to the Lord.
Yeah, it's that's a hard thing to get your head around, isn't it? Just the way that a building is created can take you to another place.
They have to be
Yeah.
ordained by God.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these cathedrals that went like high into the sky, the
Uh huh.
technology, these weird things coming off the building, they're called flying buttresses.
Yes.
And this is basically the framework or the ribs that hold up the side of the building so we could put the stained glass windows
And
in. And
all mathematically figured
all
out.
mathematically figured out, and the concept was is that you're looking at this and it is literally taking you to heaven, like get and then some of the cathedrals, they're painting heaven on it, right? They're painting Jesus on the top and clouds and things like that. It's transcendent. Is like they're going for transcendence. So I guess you could say, in a way, the cathedral was the medieval form of the stadium church. I don't know, but
I would say that
you would
would
say
be
that.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, but a lot prettier.
a lot prettier and lasting a lot longer.
Yeah.
There's no LED screens that are going to burn out here. These
No,
are
no, they're not.
um,
Wow.
so church architecture. I do think plays a big part. So I. This is kind of a funny statement, but do you think I reflect this church
You
structure? Yeah,
personally?
yeah, yeah.
Oh no.
No. How so?
Huh?
No? Explain.
No. I mean, because first of all, I know your taste in art,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's really kind of highbrow. And I hate to break it to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, no, I'm a little snob. We already talked
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. No, I mean, I think I would love to see somebody like you climb up into those big pulpits that hang
Uh,
off to the side in the
really?
cathedral, and have the word there, and have you address people from that position as you address people. It would be transforming to have
Really?
somebody come up there. First of all, to say you're standing, you're doing this,
Yeah.
and you're looking down at people. And however you do it, I'm just imagining who you are and what you are in your message. Saying something like, the most important thing I want you to know
Yeah.
is how loved you are by God. That message coming from a high place,
Hmm.
because that's what it was. But instead, what they got is sinners repent.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I
you
have
would.
never thought about that. I have never had the impulse to preach in one of those. What do they call those things?
They're pulpits.
Pulpits.
Yeah,
I,
the pulpit that you wear.
yeah,
Well,
I'm not.
remember in Moby Dick,
Yeah.
That the old one where Orson Welles was it was a ship, the bow of
Yes.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
ship.
Yes. Yes. All right. So it would be cool, but the problem would be is like, where am I gonna walk? Because I like when I when I teach
I
and preach, I'm
You
walking
know
all
what?
over the.
That's really
Oh,
interesting.
I walk all over the stage, and yeah, Luke
I
has a hard time keeping
and
the
I was
camera on
too.
me.
I was a
Yeah.
mover too.
Yeah.
But since my phone is the only thing that's keeping me on the screen, I can't move anymore.
So you're your own cameraman, huh?
I'm my own cameraman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there, and I can't move anymore. And I thought I thought I would miss it. Nope. The message is really clear. Yeah.
So your church, what, built in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
High ceilings, stained glass,
It's A-frame.
A-frame. It has a very
Modern. It is.
modern,
It's a modern. It's mid-century
mid-century
design.
modern, for sure.
Yeah, we do have stained glass windows, but they don't have any form
Pictures
or
or
pictures
yeah.
to them. They're more of a design. And it's very beautiful.
Can we see pictures?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
my sanctuary.
Yep, yep. And the baptistry is right
That's
below
our
the cross.
baptistry,
Yeah.
and it's very simple. And but I just love that cross. That cross has it has a frame around it, but inside they are it's a mosaic. It's mosaic tiles, square tiles, and they're gold. Gold tiles. Some of them are missing, and that is over the baptistry. And so when I baptize someone,
That's what.
that cross
That's
is
pretty powerful.
yeah.
You know, it is. It is a. It feels powerful, just like looking at that image. And I've been in your sanctuary several times. It does feel. You feel the gravity of the space.
You do. You
And-
feel you. I cannot tell you about it. I don't know why. I don't know why I feel this way, but every time I walk into that place, I feel the presence of God. Every time. And
How high are your ceilings? Do you know? Like 30
that
feet.
high.
Yeah, they're high. I mean, it's
They're
high.
high. They're really high.
And I know I've asked you this several times, and you still ring the bell. Do you ring the bell?
We have we don't have bells. But we have speakers.
That speaker
outdoor.
thing. Yeah.
Every Sunday, Janet, Mrs. Hodges.
Yes, she plays.
She plays the chime. She had a little tiny
Yeah,
keyboard,
yeah.
and to open our call to worship.
She
10 o'clock.
She plays this.
She plays. About I would say probably 8 bars of a familiar hymn,
and
then
it
goes into the neighborhood.
That's really cool.
It's
Has anybody ever complained about that?
Not to me.
Yeah.
Not to me. I just think I think it's neat because I was outside when one time and I said, "That's us."
Hmm.
I didn't know
That's
when I was
cool.
indoors. I think it's so neat, so cool.
All right. What else you got?
That's neat. And so this is our focal point.
Yeah. So
This is on the front facade, back facade, whatever you want to call it. But it's this the cross. The cross that I showed you is behind that.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow.
And this
directly behind it.
I think there's baptistry changing rooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you have to go through.
Right.
But this is our Jesus, and I just love the design of that. And we call it the
Jedi Jesus.
Jedi Jesus.
And so, if you've ever in Claremont on
Mountain and Harrison.
you can drive by, and he lives Jesus on the side of the church is ginormous, and he
Yeah.
kind of looks like a Jedi. And this
Yeah.
is before Star Wars came out.
I'm taking those designs. You know how I am with geometric designs.
Yeah.
And
You're gonna do something with that.
I'm excited about working that. It's just so lovely. And so, Yeah, and it's the thing is, it's very simple,
Yeah.
and I think we probably have probably one of the cleanest designs in churches. Not complicated at all.
Yeah.
It's just real, but it's as old as it being, mid-century as it is. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on it, and
He's got some
but it
restoration
is.
that needs to take
This is
place.
there. You talked about. I was touched by the fact that you were you showed how you were raised.
Yeah.
The home church. I was always raised in a building. I first knew Christ in a building. My first church was Calvary Baptist of Pasadena,
Hmm. Yeah, that one. Oh,
and
look at that.
and this is right across the street. This is right on Colorado Boulevard,
I know where I've been there.
right across the street
Yeah.
from PCC.
Yeah, I've been there. My antique shop was right down the street
Really,
on Colorado. Yeah.
I grew up in this church.
Yeah,
I grew up.
I wanted to loot that church, take its sconces off, and see if there's
Oh,
any chandeliers in there. That was,
beautiful. It actually is a very beautiful building, and it has
yeah.
see those stained glass,
Mm-hmm.
that stained glass right there.
Yep.
Each side of the sanctuary, there's 3 of them, that size.
It's just
And it has a balcony, and well, when I was growing up there was no wrought iron gate.
mm,
That wasn't there, and it has suffered from some earthquake damage. But almost every window on that building had stained glass. They're
It-
all stained glass.
it's very. I mean, it looks like a temple.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I had been there in years and years and years and years, and so I was at a memorial service, and I was coming in Alhambra, and so I was coming home from the memorial service, and I'm saying I'm going to go by,
Yeah.
and
Did you go in?
oh, the door was open,
Yeah.
and it's not a Baptist church anymore. It's now an interdenominational,
Okay.
charismatic church.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's another congregation in it. But I've stepped on the other side of that, on the left-hand side, had side doors, wooden stairs.
Yeah.
I walked in and I was transported again. I was a child again. I walked down those hallways. I went to my old Sunday school class.
Could you even the smells? Did it smell?
It was the smell. It smelled exactly the same.
Isn't that so strange, huh?
Exactly the
And
same.
then you smelled it, and your memory started kicking in.
It just everything. I saw I saw the kids going up and down those steps to their Sunday school class. I walked by and where my mom went to her Sunday school class. These buildings like this
Yeah.
that are huge and are like warrens. They're everywhere. They are so that actually right there, that building, that has 3 stories to it.
I believe you. Is it still owned by American Baptist?
No.
So they
no,
sold it.
They sold it.
Yeah.
They sold the property. And my dad was pastor at this church, and I was there for 8 years.
All right.
And it's my home church.
Did I tell you what I did as a museum director for Carplus?
No.
All right.
For who?
Carplus Manuscript
Okay.
Library. So when I was in college, I interned at a manuscript museum,
Uh-huh.
and they made me curator in Santa Barbara, and then right out of college, I opened a museum for them
Yeah.
in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes, you told me. I knew about that.
And my boss, philanthropist, he bought a Methodist church in Charleston, South Carolina, built in 1820, and like it was like so he would my old boss, he would buy that building and he would make it into a museum. He's got
It would be a beautiful.
yeah, he's got several all over the nation.
It would be a
And
beautiful. I don't even know if I it's in rough shape.
Yeah, and that's what he did. So he just kind of came in and rescued these old buildings with this type of architecture. Calls it art. So this is an architectural rating of 1. So meaning that the proportions are perfect and they're of a classical style. You've got
This is very
Corinthian.
Roman, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But you got Corinthian columns and that portico. It is incredible.
On the other side is a marble cornerstone that says Calvary Baptist
Yeah.
on it.
So it's kind of sad. I mean, my job right out of college was I just set up shop in this museum or this church. I ripped the pews right out and ripped the carpet up, and
Yeah.
I just gutted the whole thing and made it into a museum.
Wow.
I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was it had a we he kept a lot of the stuff. So there was a dove in the architecture above the altar, and so that stayed there. And incidentally, it had a bullet hole in it because
from Civil War.
from the Civil War. So they used it as an armory. They put the Confederates used it to stockade their weapons, and one of the soldiers got drunk and took a shot at the dove. And when I was ripping stuff out, I was we were getting into the plasters because it
Yeah.
had some stuff that was later done. And so we were restoring it, and the stairs were destroyed. Everything was just, I mean, it was in rough shape, and we
Yeah.
kind of brought it back to life. And like I pulled out some of the old stuffing that they used for the plaster, so newspapers and
Oh, wow.
articles from worship, old paper, programs and bulletins, and I pulled out a sweet grass basket. It's in my office. I'll show it to you. Anyway, so but it begs the question. It's like, why did these churches have to die?
Right.
And
Well, it's because, as you.
well, look at this.
I know.
Like we're like touching a Corinthian column that I stole from France. It's real.
I love
like
it.
this is 15th century
And
Gothic Corinthian column.
Yeah. I was touched when you talked about the home church model,
Yeah.
because this is how you felt loved and nurtured and cared for
Yeah.
in that space. This is a church I gave my life to Jesus in.
Yeah.
I walked down the aisle. I was baptized in this church, and it has a scary basement.
I think most churches have scary basements.
It was a
Right?
scary basement.
Yeah, yeah.
As a kid, we were, but I just this is the place that took care of me
Yeah.
and awakened me to the imagine. And so to this day, I know what I have that smell. It's on me. This is the church. These are the churches these are the structures. Their responsibility. I believe the responsibility when the architect made them and they were built, we need to take care of the people who are going to come in there. We need to nurture them and love them. And I did in that place.
Yeah.
So, is my turn to go on?
Yeah.
Do you have more?
Yeah,
We're at
you're getting there, yeah.
Getting there? Okay. Well,
going.
then the next one, now at the same town, in Pasadena,
Yeah.
there were,
Yeah.
that's an American Baptist church.
Is it?
That's
That
the
is
First
stunning.
Baptist Church of Pasadena.
That's so cool.
And I worked there.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was youth pastor
Really?
there. That's on the side. Let's see
What address is that?
this is off of Marengo.
Yeah.
So it's off Marengo, and see that's
Yeah, yeah. I know
that's
where
the front
at.
of it. It has a
Dang.
rose window,
Yeah.
beautiful. Also in these at Calvary and this one as well, pipe organs were very important.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the sanctuary, and this I believe, and this is beautiful.
For sure.
They didn't have much. They didn't have it changed much. Those those chandeliers are still there.
Good.
That ceiling, you can see a little bit of
I
it,
see it. Yeah.
is designed beautifully, and I think everything, and that's the baptistry right in the middle of it.
Now, do people still attend here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's still operating,
Still operating.
and yeah, you have to change ministry. You have to change their emphasis. They're probably, they're accepting the fact that they're in an inner city church
Yeah.
right now, and but again, there are it's 3 stories tall plus a basement plus a gym, fellowship hall. This too has a smell to it. I mean, if you has
I
a
know.
smell to it
Why does
that
that
I can't,
happen?
that it
I know.
it can't do it. Can't.
Weird, huh?
So
Yeah.
bizarre. Well, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of this. Not churches. Is there a place, and I want it to be a structure. Is there a structure that to you feels cathedral like and invokes a sense of peace for you because you're in that place? Let me give you an example. There's something that is transportive to me when I go to a ballpark.
Yeah, I know you like that, don't you?
And
Yeah.
especially when I get there kind of early.
Yeah.
In a baseball ballpark, I get that no matter where I am, whatever ballpark it is, Petco, the one in Seattle, Angel Stadium, Dodger Stadium. Just there's something peaceful and wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's going to be the cathedral in Los Angeles, the Catholic Cathedral.
The what?
Catholic Cathedral.
Oh, wow.
That one. I love that one. And then any museum, really. So, not any museum, but Norton Simon, Getty.
Yeah.
I love the Getty. I love both Gettys.
Yeah.
So
Huntington Library.
Just getting into those spaces. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
So that's that. And then, so I worked here, and then right before Pasadena, right before Claremont, this was my church. Cute little church, First Baptist Church of Palos Verdes.
Palos Verdes.
Yeah, that's the front of it. I couldn't find a building to it, but a little A-frame.
Mid-century too.
Yeah, mid-century, little A-frame. That's a little. That's off the narthex lobby part of it. Long building. And but stained glass. Told the story. In the stained glass, you look at it. It's the gospel.
Yeah.
In the stained glass, cool. and it's really lovely. You can't find it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of these A-frames around, and not a whole lot of young people come into them, right?
Not a lot of young people coming to them. A lot of old people.
We don't have a whole lot of young people in our church either. But
so
is it partly due because of the architecture? Or is it people not?
You know what?
Are people not relating to the architecture?
I kind of reject that.
You do.
I do.
Yeah.
I think it's. I think that. Yeah, is it a throwback from how they used to the rows and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I kind of. Here's what I found. These kind of church, my kind of church, the older ones, the more traditional ones, even Calvary and First Baptist, people are going to come back to them, and I've discovered, because this reminds me of my grandma's church.
Yeah.
And for somewhere along the way, Their
Yeah.
grandma was important to them. Their family. This is like the church I grew up in.
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. And I think there are people who are returning. Now, the thing about these big edifices like First Baptist and Calvary, they're going to go away
Yeah.
because we can't sustain them. They're going to get older.
Yeah.
The cost to repair them
Is
is astronomical.
yeah.
The cost to repair the roof on my church,
So you're getting out just in time, huh? Before you spring a
I don't
leak.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. In buildings for churches are important.
Yeah. I believe that 100%.
Absolutely important. They may not all be our cup of tea.
Well, there's something about real estate that's important to God,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all over the Bible, actually.
Yeah.
I have a couple other fun pictures. One, the strip mall church.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this
Tapestry Church.
And this isn't the tapestry that's in Claremont, which are
Okay.
our friends. This is a different tapestry, but they're like right next to Bed Bath and Beyond, right, or
Yeah.
whatever.
And Campbell's.
Campbell's, and it's just, I guess that works for people, right?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't scream warm and cozy,
No,
but
it's like fast and convenient, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's easy to get to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that speaks to consumer culture or not, but
I think it has to be with the fact that the important thing is, I think this particular church or a church like this, I think what they would be going, it's so important for us to have a place to be together.
yeah.
So let's
So there's-
do that because
yeah.
we want to be with each
Yeah,
other.
I think what's sweet are like in the poorer communities, where they've taken over an old pick and save or something like
Yeah.
that, and they're just making it work, right? They're
Yeah.
just
I want
you
to
know.
let's because the onus is to be together and have a place to
Yeah.
gather.
When we outgrew our living room, we started meeting in high school classrooms, and then when we outgrew the high school
Yeah.
classroom, it went into the gymnasium, and that's
Well,
we just made it work, right? We
Yeah.
just tried to keep the doors open for everybody.
and and the same thing with our dear brother Steve Chua.
Yeah.
I remember we were praying that he would find a place for his church.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a tiny space.
Yeah.
But man, are they so excited to be in
Be
that
in that
place to
space.
gather together.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh. So yeah, God bless
Yeah.
him.
Okay, one fun church. I know we're running out of time here because you gotta do something, but one fun church. This is actually an elf church.
Uh-huh.
So in Iceland and Greenland, they actually believe that elves do exist.
Okay.
They believe that there are elves, and so they've made them homes, and they've even made them a church. So that's a
Is there stuff inside like little pews, little seats,
everything,
little pulpit?
yeah. And they think that they come out. There's like a little elf village somewhere in Iceland, and they actually rerouted a freeway, and it
Wow.
went to court. It went to the highest court in the land, and the elves won.
Wow.
Yeah. So fun stuff.
So, well, when do they hold church?
I don't know. Whenever elves get together and congregate, I have no idea. I just. But anyway, it's a true story.
I think for the record,
Yeah.
I think it's a cute idea. I don't believe.
You don't believe in elves? I want to believe in
I
elves.
do. I do too. I want to believe in all
Yeah.
anything magic and wonderful.
There
I
you
want to
go.
believe.
I think what I also want to talk about, maybe we can pick it up again, but
Let's do it.
just on how people interpret church. So when we ask somebody, what does church mean to you, or what do you think church is, they're going to give us an answer through a lens on how they perceive church. So how people perception of church
Absolutely.
is very important.
I want to
And
take that.
yeah. So perception of church is
I
like even in all the things, the images that we looked at and the discussions that we have from pews to mega churches to concert churches to home churches. Like there's a perception. And whenever I am ministering to somebody that is not with the Lord, and I know you've had this experience too, and you mention church or you invite them to church, and then this wall goes up like instantly. So somebody that is sweet and open and conversational, all of a sudden they just shut down when you say, "I'm a pastor," or "Would you like to come visit our church sometime?" And like there's a
We're
perception that
not going to be able to
all right,
examine
we
all
can't get
that
that.
today.
All right, should we do part 2 next week?
Part 2, absolutely.
All right, so stay tuned next week. We'll pick up the art of church and then perception of church.
You know what? It was just as we were talking. The bottom line, and just for me, perceptive of church, what is? It's the place where you go, oh.
Yeah.
Whether it's walking into a cathedral
Yeah.
or hearing great music,
Yeah.
it's a place where your soul goes.
All right. I think that we have to flesh this out. I think it's an important topic because a lot of people don't do that anymore.
Let's do it.
And a lot of people are scared of church, or they have a false interpretation, or they're believing a lie about church.
Yeah.
And yeah, all right. We'll pick it up next time. Thank you for
Let's
listening.
take it apart.
We'll pick that one apart. We've
Blessings.
got some more images, and God bless you guys.